Hello, today I have cut up some of the pieces of tissue paper that I made in my last YouTube video on printing variations using a simple stencil pattern. I've put them over my panel that I want to collage them onto and roughly cut them out to fit so that I can stick them down. I laid them out how I want them, and now I'm going to take them off before I glue them down. So they're placed down in a particular order, so I'm going to take them off in the reverse order and put them by the side in roughly the same place that they'll be on the panel, so I can remember where to put them back. It doesn't matter if I don't get it exactly right, but I do want different colours and shapes in different places. So that's on top, then that one, then these two, and this is the first one I'm going to put down. So this is what I'm working on top of. This painting that I've been working on for a little while. It's on a 10-inch deep cradled panel. And I've put a lot of collage papers, lots and lots of layers of collage papers, and on top of the wooden panel. I sealed the wooden panel with gloss medium first, and because I was putting a lot of collage down, I didn't put any gesso on it, just started sticking layers and layers and layers of collage papers down. I have a tulip design that I'm going to put over the top. So I cut out the shape of the tulip, the outline, cut around that, and then I peeled the ripped away. So I did some decollage, ripped away some of the papers around the edge of the tulip design, and then I've sealed all of that layer, the whole thing, with more gloss medium, so that the papers aren't, you know, they're not able to peel back up. So everything is sealed down nicely. So I'm going to then add my printed tissue paper with stencils on top of this to get some variation in the background. I love patterns, so I like adding patterns to my work, and I just felt that this needed some sort of pattern, because these pieces of paper that I've revealed underneath and these things, they're not very uniform. They're very I just wanted some pattern for your eye to kind of follow the piece around. So this is wet strength tissue. So a really good tip that I've learned that you can use with this is you can just spray it with water, and then you can put it on your panel or your piece, your painting, whatever, so you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. The tissue, with the water, the tissue goes as transparent as it does when you put medium to stick it down, you glue, so you can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like. And I can do that with my next piece as well, just so you can see. So this isn't stuck down at all, there's no glue on there, it's just water, but it is giving me an idea of what the panel is going to look like once I have already glued the pieces down. So if you're not sure, if you're doing some collage work with tissue paper with some designs on, this is a really useful thing that you can do to see what it will look like when you've stuck it down without actually having to stick it down in the first place. See, it comes straight off. So, and it's wet strength tissue, so it's pretty resilient. You know, you can let it dry and do that again. Not a problem. And now I'm going to glue this piece down, and it's wet, and that's absolutely fine. So I'll probably just turn it over. What I'm using to stick the tissue paper down today is it's in a pot which says Daler-Rowney glaze medium, gloss glaze medium. This tub was actually coming to the end. There was a little bit left in, and I just added some Liquitex gloss, regular gloss medium. Fluid is quite fluid, the gloss medium, and mixed it all up together. So this is a kind of a mix, and it's probably a little bit thicker than the regular gloss medium because it had some glaze medium in the bottom. The glaze medium is is quite thick, so it's quite a lot on my brush, on my and I'm using a catalyst shaper tool. I found this one, I really like this one for collage because you can press down quite hard. There's no cleanup with brushes. I can just wipe this or let it dry, and the medium will peel off it. So I really quite like this. I'm getting quite a good nice layer down on the board. Make sure it's good in the corners. Don't want too much around the edge. So I can just scrape this up with the tool. And even though this is wet, I can still put the glue. I'll just put the leftovers of the glue on here. Stick it down. Make sure it's all flat. Get the bubbles out, get the excess out. It's now all over my fingers, of course. And then I can use the tool to make sure all the air bubbles are out. Getting quite a lot around the edge, so just scrape that up. Tend to work from the inside out. Working my way around the edge, because there's different, the collage papers underneath that have been ripped off, they're all at different levels, so it's quite good using my finger so I can feel that I've got all the bubbles out around the edges of those pieces. Of course, while I'm doing this scraping, I'm also putting the medium on the top of the tissue paper, and of course all this clear, all this medium will dry clear. Okay, so now I'll just move straight on to the next one. This one at the top up here. There's going to be some overlap. You can see that, you know, the tissue paper just kind of disappears. Next was my bottom left piece. So be quite generous with your medium. It's what I've found, helps everything stick nicely. Now I've covered over with this tissue paper the stem of my tulip, which will stay as it is. So what I'll probably end up doing is when this is all dry, I'll probably come in with a knife, a craft knife, and cut down there and peel away the tissue paper from over the top of the stem. Either that or I'll just paint on top of it. I haven't quite decided yet. Next was this one. This one was going there, but actually I've decided I'm going to cut off the corner circle. Yeah. So I need a bit more medium. And then I've got the last one in this corner, so I need a bit more. It's probably too much. Right, so there's all my papers glued down. along the sides. There's a bit of medium under here coming out, so just wipe that off, the excess off. Okay. So that's the next stage of this painting completed. Just trying to get as much of that medium back in here. We can always add extra on the top. There we go, I've used up all the medium now, and now I just need this to dry, and I'll take a few photographs of it when it's when this layer is all dry, so you can see what it's like when it's finished. Okay, and then I'll probably do another video to show you the painting at its next stage, or when it's finished or something. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do next. I need to wait to see what this dries like. I'm liking the pattern layers, and whether I want to add any more, whether I want to add more paint. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what it looks like when it's dried. So it's a bit later on in the day, and I just wanted to show you, now that the tissue paper has dried, what it looks like. I cut away the tissue paper over the stem of the tulip, and you can see how it's dried over here, coming down here. And I thought what I might want to do next is kind of put a glaze over the top to kind of unify these dots and give it some cohesion around the edge, around the edge of the tulip shape, and hopefully also knock back some of the brightness in places. I still want to keep the variation that we can see in the patterns, and I think a glaze is a good way to do that. And as you can see here, I have tried it out first within the tulip shape, because this is going to get completely covered up. So I wanted to see what it might look like, and whether I could keep the variation in the patterns. And as you can see here and here, even though this section here, just this little bit here, is glazed, you can still see the variation. You can quite nicely see here the difference, because this bit has been glazed and this part of the spot hasn't been glazed. So you can see the effect that the glaze has had, but also see that it doesn't particularly affect the variation within the patterns, within the circles. And so how I've done the glaze, I'm going to show you how I do that on the rest of the paper. Well, probably not all of it, but just show you a little bit on the rest. So I've got used two colours to make the glaze, and these are colours that I've used in the background and on some of the papers, and that is, one of them is Golden's Green Gold High Flow, and I've also got Liquitex acrylic ink in muted green. And when I mix these colours together, so I've mixed them on my jelly plate which I use as a palette quite often, and I've added a few sprays of water to make it very liquidy, and you can see what a gorgeous kind of emeraldy green those two make when they're mixed together. So glazing for me means a little bit of kind of wipe it on and then rub it back a bit. So I'm going to take a piece of kitchen roll. You can see it's well used. Well used. So I'm going to dip it in my ink, and then I'm going to rub it over painting, over the tissue. And then this is a kind of also very well used baby wipe, and I can re-wet that. So let's just spray that with some water, and it's damp here now, and I can just then rub back the glaze a little bit, so it's not too strong. We just get a hint of those colours. Okay, so now you've got an idea of how that works. You can see the green colours coming off on the baby wipe. I'm going to turn the camera off, finish it off, because I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do it all now, and then I'll show you some more photos or a short video when I've finished doing that. Okay, so the glaze is all done now. It's quite subtle, the difference that it's made, but and it's not particularly coming over very well on camera. But if we go back to this spot down here, this one here where we could see clearly before the effect of the glaze on this part, and it was white, a lot more white here, and we can see that now with the glazing they're the same colour again. Still like the fact that we can see all the different variations, but it has given it a much more uniform look. Hello. Well, I just wanted to pop on at the end of this video to say a few things. First of all, I just want to apologise for the very shaky handheld camera movement at the end there when I was trying to show you how I was glazing. I think, you know, there's a place for some of the handheld movements when you're trying to show the details of the pieces, but I realised it looked a bit awkward when I was glazing, so hopefully you got a kind of idea about how that worked. It was over a year ago since I made the video and posted the video of making those gel printed papers that I collaged onto my painting, and I just kind of thought it might be nice to show you what happened next. So here, see if I can get it into the shot, is my finished painting. It's called Tulip Lasagne, and that's actually a gardening term used for planting tulip bulbs in a kind of layered style, a layered fashion, so you get layers of tulips in your border. And I thought the name was quite appropriate because there are a lot of layers built up onto this panel. And you saw the first layer where I'd collaged lots of papers, then decollaged by ripping them back away from the tulip area. And then you saw me adding the layers of tissue. A couple more layers have been added since then, so let me see if you can, if it's gonna refocus, maybe not. Here there is some smaller patterns, smaller circles, which I also made. And then I collaged my tulip on top and added some more collage circles on tissue there. And I've also used ink over the top of the tulip. I'll show you the other two paintings in the series, so you can see the similarities and differences in creating those paintings too. This one is called Taking Stock, and I can't fully remember where the title came from, but it's something to do with the type of tulip that it was. It might even been called Taking Stock. And you can see here on this one, I cut out some of the circles from my layers of collage paper. Again, the tulip was built up on top, and I've even got some of the tissue papers that I made, I added in this one as well. This one has also had that glazing technique over the background to sort of unify all the different colours of the papers. So that's Taking Stock. And my third piece, this one is called Bursting Radiance. And this one, the decollage element was taking out strips of papers to create a little bit more movement in the piece, a variation on the patterns again here. Again, you can see I've used some of the tissue in this painting, and I've also used some of the circles that I cut out of the previous painting, Taking Stock, and collaged them on top. So this series was really interesting in terms of my process, which was collage, decollage, taking some of those papers away, and then recollaging some of the papers back on top, and then collaging this beautiful bright pink tulip, which came from a photograph from a friend of mine's tulip in her garden. And I just love all the bright pink colours I've used, and the patterns again in the papers that I've used to build up this tulip shape. Okay, I really hope that some of this was useful and that you've enjoyed watching and you've enjoyed seeing the final products. And hopefully I'll be back with some more videos soon, but as you know, it takes me a while to get round to uploading them and editing them. And so if you want to know when my next video comes out, I suggest that you perhaps subscribe to my channel, because then you can get a notification. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again.